Welcome back. So, in the last class we looked at the different hardware components of NMR spectrometer, what are the different systems which are there. So, now given a NMR spectrometer, once we record the data, we will now see from hence now on how do you actually analyze the data, how do you interpret the data. So, this is typically from a chemist point of view, because NMR spectroscopy is a very important tool for chemistry, and therefore, we will now look at some of the chemicals or simple NMR experiments which can be done on chemistry in chemical and compounds, and we can look at how to analyze them. So, this next few classes is going to focus on chemical shifts and what is called spin-spin coupling or J coupling. So, let us start from chemical shifts. So, typically the NMR spectrum consists of the following 4 parameters. So, if you record any NMR experiment, any NMR spectrum of any compound, so these are the 4 things which we will have to analyze. The first thing what we look at is what chemical shift. This is the heart of the NMR experiment spectroscopy, and chemical shift is directly related to the structure of the molecule, and also it gives information about the different functional groups such as alkane, alkene, benzene, aldehyde. So, this is how chemical shifts are very important, and they are measured in the units called ppm. Shortly we will see how this ppm scale is generated. The next parameter very important for NMR is the integral, that is the area of the peak. So, if you recollect, we mentioned in a few class back that the area of the peak is directly related to the number of hydrogen atoms or number of protons giving under that peak. So, therefore, integral is very important if you want to quantify, measure the number of hydrogens, and that is very useful parameter. Another useful parameter is called spin-spin splitting, which in the common jargon we also known as J coupling or scalar coupling. So, J coupling is basically between hydrogens which interact with each other through bond. So, we will look at this thing shortly, and this spin-spin coupling, as I said, coupling constant is also gives information about the arrangement of atoms. So, therefore, it is very important to know the value of spin-spin splitting, not only the pattern. So, the pattern is obtained by just looking at the peak structure, but the value of the coupling constant gives you information about the structure of the molecule. So, therefore, we have to analyze these 4 things, such as chemical shift, integral, the pattern of spin-spin splitting, and the value of the coupling constant. So, let us look at what is chemical shift, from where does actually chemical shift originate. So, what happens is if you take at any molecule, so if you look at any molecule, as I mentioned, any molecule has basically atoms which have nucleus. Now, this nucleus is surrounded by electron cloud. So, these are not number of electrons, here it is shown as electron cloud. So, now this electron cloud which is around this nucleus, it generates a small magnetic field opposite to the main magnetic field. So, you see this is the main magnetic field, which is the Tesla, the 9 Tesla and so on, which we discussed. But because of the motion of electrons, so if you remember, electrons are also charged particles, they are negatively charged. So, when they are moving around, they generate a magnetic field similar to what the magnetic field this is generated. So, if you remember in the last class, we saw that this magnetic field comes from the superconducting coils. Because of the current flowing in the coil, it generates this field. Similarly, the electrons which are also moving around, they generate a magnetic field which is in the opposite direction compared to the main magnetic field, or it can be in the similar direction, but there is a magnetic field which is additional to the main magnetic field, and that particular negative, the opposite, is represented so like this. So, what we are looking at is that the magnetic field around this nucleus, this red color nucleus, is no longer B0, but it is subtracted, a small subtraction because of this negative field, and this is called shielding. Shielding means protected. So, it is essentially saying that this particular electrons which are around this nucleus, they are trying to protect this nucleus or shield this nucleus from the main magnetic field, and that is why we use the word shielding, and it is basically denoted by this parameter called sigma. So, you can see now what happens is that there is not the B0 is not, this nucleus does not experience B0, it experiences an effective magnetic field, and that effective magnetic field is given like this, where this is a main magnetic field and this is the shielding factor. So, suppose shielding is 0, if there is no shielding, then this term becomes 0 and it is B effective, it becomes equal to B0. So, basically that is what is the main magnetic field. So, therefore, the shielding is trying to reduce the effect of the main magnetic field at the nucleus side, and this shielding is a very small number, this is very small deviation, it is the order of 10 to the power minus 6, and if you now see the connection, the ppm typically comes from there because it is the very small deviation from the main magnetic field. So, let us see from how does this chemical shift vary for different atoms. So, if you look at this structure now, CH3 CH2OH, this is ethanol standard compound. So, what happens is the shielding so for this nucleus, that is proton, this proton here is slightly different from the shielding caused by the electrons around this hydrogen, and which is again different from the shielding caused around the nucleus of this hydrogen. So, how does the shielding, why does the shielding differ from here to here and there, that those factors we will look at shortly. But the point to understand here is that this nucleus, which is the hydrogen, the proton, is now having a different effect, different shielding by the electrons around it, electron cloud around it, compared to this hydrogen and compared to this hydrogen. And because of that, each of these hydrogens have a slightly different resonance frequency. So, if you recollect the previous slides, that resonance frequency omega is equal to gamma into B0. So, if B0, that is the effective field, is different from here and here and here, the omega also starts changing, and omega is basically the frequency of Larmor precession or the energy difference. So, you can see that this particular CH3 has a different resonance frequency compared to this particular atom hydrogen and compared to this. So, you can see there is a gradual change of the energy, and therefore, the resonance what is here is not same as resonance here, is not same as here, and when you start exciting the protons, this particular will have a different frequency of excitation which is converted into ppm scale, we will see shortly, and that is why this peak differs, comes at a different location compared to this peak, because this peak has a different resonance frequency and therefore, it has a different frequency of excitation, and similarly this OH will have a different frequency of excitation. So, you see the point in this slide is to see that each type of hydrogen has a different local magnetic field. So, when we talk about shielding, we say that the local magnetic field. Why local? Because the main magnetic field is same for all of them, the B0, but locally around this nucleus there is a shielding which is different from here and here. So, each of them has a different local magnetic field, and if the local magnetic field, if the magnetic field changes, if the omega changes, that is the precessional energy of excitation changes, and therefore, they come at different positions. So, this is how chemical shifts can be exploited to look at the structure of molecules, because if all these hydrogens, if all of them had no shielding, then all of them would look alike and there will be a single peak, and that would make NMR very uninteresting and of no use. The reason why NMR is so popular today is because that local magnetic field changes between one atom to one another hydrogens, and that change, small change, is good enough to separate them into different positions, and that gives information about the structure of the molecule. So, now let us see how this ppm scale is calculated. So, for understanding this, one should keep in mind that chemical shifts, when we say, is always based on a reference. So, why do we use the word reference? The reference is used because if I record an NMR spectrum at some particular spectrometer, let us say I have a 300 megahertz in my laboratory, and I take the same molecule and I go to 700 megahertz in some other laboratory, then I should not get a change in chemical shift, because chemical shift is inherently related to the structure of the molecule, and if the structure cannot change from here to here, then chemical shift should also not change. So, therefore, to preserve this uniformity of chemical shift, we use a reference, and with respect to reference, always the chemical shifts are calibrated, the chemical shift values, and therefore, this is a very important point, that chemical shift does not change with the field strength, meaning this does not change with spectrometer, and that is. So, now see, let us see how it is calculated. So, now look at this equation here, this is a standard NMR equation which says that omega is equal to gamma B0. So, suppose we have a reference molecule, we can later on, let us not look at what are the molecules used, can be used for reference, but suppose you have some molecule, hypothetical molecule, which is having, we call it as reference, and that particular molecule will have a peak which has omega, a chemical shift or a omega frequency, and that omega frequency or precessional frequency is related to this. Okay. So, this reference now we will assume as 0 chemical shift, which means that sigma, if you recollect the sigma parameter in the previous slide, the sigma is no longer there. So, we consider this as hypothetically a 0 chemical shift. So, this is how it look like. Now, you will in your molecule of interest, the molecule which we are trying to study will have not 0 value, it will have some chemical shift shielding factor, and that shielding factor is denoted like this. So, you have now omega equal to gamma B 0 into 1 minus sigma, and this is the precessional frequency of the nucleus of our interest which we are trying to study. So, what we do is we then subtract, if you subtract these two equations. So, if you simply do a simple mathematical operation of subtracting and you rearrange to get the sigma, you see the sigma can be now written like this. So, you just have to simply subtract and then rearrange a little bit, and then you get like this. So, then if you look at this omega, remember omega is given by 2 pi mu, this is the formula for omega, this is in radians per second, this is in hertz per second, this is hertz per second. So, when you convert a hertz into radians per second, this is the multiplication factor 2 pi. So, when we convert it to frequency units into frequency, we will get like this. So, now you see the frequency, the reference frequency what we are using is in megahertz. Why is it in megahertz? Because this comes from here, this according to our very beginning in the first class we saw that the magnetic field is measured in Tesla, and for a given Tesla, 9 Tesla or 10 Tesla or 15 Tesla, any Tesla number you take magnetic field and you multiply with this gamma, this frequency will come out in megahertz. So, that is why we talk about the 600 megahertz, 300 megahertz and so on. So, similarly the mu ref, which is nothing but 2 pi omega by 2 pi, is also in megahertz. So, when you put this value here in megahertz, you will see that the sigma, this value will be of the order of 10 to the power minus 6, okay. And then it is unitless. This is very important because what if you see from this formula equation, I am subtracting two frequencies, therefore, this unit is also in frequency units, and I am dividing by another frequency. So, when you divide the two units which have the same units, you get a parameter which is unitless. So, this shielding factor is parts per million, we use the word because it is in this of factor of 10 to the power minus 6. So, we can say now let us say that we want to do a simple calculation, that this question, let us say we ask this question that suppose I have a difference in chemical shift of two nuclei which are 1 ppm difference. Okay. So, how can we calculate in terms of hertz? So, this is a very important conversion we do routinely in NMR, is that we convert ppm scale into hertz scale and vice versa. So, how do you convert a ppm into hertz? It is very simple, we can go through this algebra, but what basically happens is the following. So, let us say you have two peaks which differ in chemical shift by 1 ppm. So, 1 ppm means 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 parts per million. So, then if you want to convert this into frequency difference, remember ppm and frequency are not same, ppm units are different from frequency units. So, we want to convert into frequency. So, if you look at this equation here above, what we have written, this is coming from the previous slide, the last slide which I showed you how we get the chemical shift. So, all we want to do is we want to simply subtract these two. So, if you subtract these two, you will get 1 ppm, that is what we have, and that you can convert it into this difference in hertz. And remember, this mu ref is known to us. Let us say we are doing at 500 megahertz, and the 500 megahertz is 500 into 10 to the power 6, and this is units in 10 to the power 1 ppm, 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. When you multiply, you finally get only 500 hertz. So, what it means is suppose I have a spectrometer which I have a 500 megahertz in my laboratory, and I record a spectrum and I get two peaks which are separated by 1 ppm, then the separation between those two peaks in hertz scale, in the hertz value, is 500 hertz. So, all what we have done essentially is a rule of thumb, I mean a simple calculation, we have simply multiplied the spectrometer frequency 500 into 1. So, therefore, let us say we have 2 ppm difference. If the difference is 2 ppm, then 2 ppm this will become 1000 hertz. So, you simply take the spectrometer frequency in megahertz, that is 500 or 600 megahertz, 600 you take, multiply by the difference in the ppm value, and that will give you in the difference in the hertz scale. And this is a very important point, because if you see now, if you notice, this number is coming from the spectrometer. and that will not be the same. So, if I go to 300 megahertz, I will have 300 as the value here. If I go to 700 megahertz, this will become 700. So, you see when I change my frequency of spectrometer, I will change this value, and if I change this value will also change. So, what it means is that the ppm difference does not change, which between two peaks the ppm value does not change if you go from 300 to 400 to 500 or any spectrometer. However, the difference in hertz depends very much on the spectrometer. So, if I go to 700 megahertz, my peaks now will be separated, I mean the difference separation is now equal to 700 hertz. If I go to 1 gigahertz, 1000 megahertz, then it will be 1000 hertz. So, you see the peak separation varies with the spectrometer when you calculate in hertz value, but it does not change when you calculate in ppm value. So, this is very important point, because as I mentioned, once we take with respect to reference, we do not want the ppm value to change from one spectrometer to other spectrometer, but the separation of the peaks in hertz value will change because it depends on the field strength. Now, this separation is actually what helps you in giving resolution. So, this is what is shown in this slide. If you see that that is what we calculated, that the chemical shift value does not change with the field strength, but the precessional frequency changes between two peaks, changes with magnetic field. So, this is what was shown in the last slide. The same thing is repeated here, is that the chemical shift value may not change in ppm, but when I multiply with my spectrometer frequency, the reference frequency of the spectrometer, that changes with frequency and that will change. So, why is that so important? The point here is that when I increase the separation between when I increase the separation between the peaks, basically what I am doing is I am increasing the resolution between the peaks. That means I am separating the peaks more and more if I go to higher and higher magnetic field. So, if a peak is separated by 10 hertz or 100 hertz on a 300 megahertz machine, if I go to 600 megahertz machine, the peaks will be separated by 200 hertz, double, and that doubling of the separation is basically saying that the peaks are well resolved from each other, and what that says is that it has resolution of the spectrum has increased. And this is one of the reason why a lot of time and resource is spent on increasing the frequency of the spectrometer. If you go from 300 to 400 to 500 to 600, you keep increasing the resolution between the peaks, and therefore, it is very important to go to higher field in case your resolution is not sufficient for you at the lower field. Typically, for chemists like organic chemists and who work in the area of peptide NMR, up to 600 megahertz is more than sufficient for their practical, from a practical perspective is sufficient. But when you go to biomolecules such as proteins and nucleic acids and carbohydrates and so on, there you need to increase the resolution, you need a lot of resolution, and that is why those working in the area of biomolecular NMR, they prefer to use a high magnetic field like 800 megahertz, 1 gigahertz and so on, compared to the organic chemists who are for them 600 and below is sufficient for most practical purposes. So, this is what is shown in this slide, is that the delta mu, again remember this delta mu is the difference in the separation between the peaks that varies with the value of V, the spectrometer. So, if I start from 250 megahertz, of course 0 is 0 frequency separation. If I go down, increase the spectrometer frequency, I go to 250 megahertz, 500 megahertz, 750 megahertz, 900 megahertz, you see the peaks are all changing because they are separated by the hertz, the resolution in hertz is changing, and they are getting well more and more separated. But however, if I convert this into this using this formula into a ppm scale, in the ppm scale remember we subtract the frequency and divide by again a frequency, and this is takes care of this separation. What you see increasing is again when you divide by the increasing frequency, it gets nullified, and finally what you get is that the peak separation does not change in the ppm scale, in the delta scale. So, this is a very important point. In a delta scale, the frequency remains the same, that is the ppm value remains the same whether you go to 250 megahertz you get the spectrum, or you look at 900 megahertz you get the same ppm value, but if you look at the hertz scale, the ppm, the frequency is changing as in more and more when we go down to higher magnetic field. So, this is the important concept which has to be kept in mind. So, the second point which in NMR spectrum which we saw is the area of the peak. So, that is what is shown here, is that the area is very determines the number of protons. So, the area of under a peak is proportional to the number of hydrogens that generate the peak. So, this is what is called as integration. So, we integrate a peak to determine the area under the peak. So, this is shown in this particular diagram here. This is taken from a book called Spectroscopy by Pavia. Here you can see that we see a peak which this particular molecule. So, we will look at more closely at different why the peaks are coming here and so on, that comes under the chemical shift analysis, but the in this slide the point to take home is that number of protons, here it is 3, here it is 0, there is no protons. So, of course, you do not get any peak from this in the proton spectrum, but this proton is number 2 number of hydrogens. There are 3 hydrogens here and there are 5 hydrogens in this aromatic system. So, therefore, the aromatic whatever peak you get in the aromatic portion should be 5 times compared to the peak what you get in this 5:2 compared to what you get in the CH2, and what you get in the CH3 should be 3. So, therefore, you should have this ratio 5:2:3. So, this is the simplest ratio of the heights. So, what typically we do is we measure the area under this peak, and this area's ratio is taken, and the ratio is what is presented in the spectrum. So, ratio is very important to know, because we then come to know from the ratio how many hydrogens are there in this particular peak, without which it is very difficult to analyze the structure, which we will use this in the later slides. So, the J coupling chemical shifts and this area is very important. This is again shown in this particular slide. This is for benzyl acetate, the same molecule, that we get the height in the ratio of 5:2:3 because of the different type of protons. So, we will continue in the chemical shift now and just have a look at how the chemical shift is determined by various factors. So, what is important to know here is that we typically when we look at a spectrum in NMR, we use the word downfield and upfield. So, this is some terminology which we are introducing now, we should keep in mind as we go further. In down, what does an upfield and downfield mean? This is a relative way of looking at the peaks. So, typically the spectrum, the reference is always at the right hand side of the spectrum. So, the reference of molecule, if we will see in the next few slides, the reference is always kept at the right hand side, that is at the high field. We use the word shielded. The shielded upfield, when we say, it means it is coming towards the right end of the spectrum. Any peak which comes at the right side, we say it is upfield shifted respect to the center. So, the center is somewhere here. So, the center is very important in NMR. We usually keep all our many of the reference frequency at the center, and with respect to the center, we say that these peaks are upfield shifted on the right side, and if the peaks appear on this side of the spectrum, we use the word downfield. So, downfield is less shielded or de-shielded. So, the de-shielded ones come on the left side, means their ppm value goes. So, if you look at the spectrum, the ppm starts 0 somewhere here and they goes from left to right. So, ppm scale always goes like this. So, this is higher ppm value, and as I am going to the right side is lower ppm value. So, the lower ppm value is denoted as upfield shifted, and the higher ppm values is denoted as downfield shifted. So, this chemical shifts typically you see for different functional groups comes in this particular zone. So, for this is a hydrogen spectrum, a proton spectrum. So, you can see here it is marked, the scale is marked from 0 onwards towards the positive side, and typically this is what happens in all organic compounds. We choose 0 ppm as a reference. We will talk about reference a little bit later. So, that 0, if the reference is always, suppose we set it to 0, and all the typical compounds which is studied in organic chemistry, they all fall on the higher downfield side compared to the 0. So, that means anything more than 0 is shifted downfield with respect to the reference, and you can see here there are different compounds, functional groups are shown. For example, amides hydrogens in the amide region become typically between 6 to 8 ppm. The aldehydes come very much downfield, the aromatics comes somewhere between 7 to 8. So, what we are looking at, you have to keep your eyes on this proton here, you have to focus on the proton. So, we are looking at the chemical shift of this proton, the one shown in blue color. So, you see those which are attached to chlorine or nitrogen or oxygen, they come here, and typically when you look at methyls are CH3 groups, they are always upfield shifted to somewhere between 0 to 2. So, methyl peaks are very dominant, very prominent in NMR spectroscopy. They can be very easily recognized because they always come somewhere between 0 to 2, 2.2, 2.5 ppm. So, methyl peaks are very typical zone is here, and you will see in the different the analysis we will see why they come here and how they can be used. But the reason for these hydrogens to come at so different positions is what is going to be the focus in the next class. We will see what are the factors which affect the chemical shifts of different hydrogens and how we can figure out that what functional group is present based on the chemical shift value, and that will focus in the next class. Thank you.